Baltimore, Maryland. Hey Chase, you had the pleasure of growing up playing against the Baltimore Dunbar organization up there in Maryland. Why don't you tell my viewers something about that squad they had in the early '80s that just ran through the country?
Well, it was kind of funny because you knew what you were getting. You were getting probably 4 to 5 pros that you were going to be playing against at any given day.
Right.
They had a couple of guys on the bench that probably could have went pro also. It was intimidating, but it was also a test.
Y'all was scared, man?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't scared. We were intimidated simply because their second five was just as good as our first five.
Who was their first five?
I mean, at any given time, they would have Mugsy Bogues, David Wingate, Reggie Lewis, Reggie Williams, just a plethora of different guys. You just never knew who you were going to get.
Right.
And then they bring a couple guys in off the bench,
What type of system was they running? Did they come in and run an offense, or they just open up a can of whoop ass?
Their offense came from their defense.
Okay.
They would get you all rattled. They would press you all over the court, and they would usually never really set up an offense because they were scoring off of their steals and their defense.
Okay.
So again, it was pretty intimidating to have a 5'3" point guard dictate the whole pace of the game in Mugsy Bogues.
Was he that good back there, man?
He was better than you could ever imagine. You would have to play against him to understand the level at which he could perform.
I believe Muggsy was like the shortest player to ever play in the NBA. It's the reason why he made it all that way.
Yeah, 5'3", hardest. Just all heart, speed, and he knew what he was doing. He would change a game. Some of the tournaments that Dunbar went to throughout the years, Muggsy ended up being the MVP.
Wow.
And they had other pros on the team, but Muggsy was the MVP because he changed the tempo of the game.
Right.
So.
Did anybody give them a good game that year? Did anybody give them some rest?
Absolutely. People don't understand this, but when Dunbar was reigning national champs, their biggest competition was in Baltimore. Calvert Hall was number 2 in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
Dunbar was number 1. Calvert Hall, right across town, was number 2 in the nation. And they had a pro, one pro, his name was Dwayne Farrell. He played for the Atlanta Hawks. So that was their biggest competition, and that game was always sold out. You couldn't even get tickets for it.
If somebody was from Baltimore, what part of the city would you have to live in to attend Baltimore?
You'd have to go to East Baltimore under the Madison Dome. That's where everybody went to prove who they were. I played down there a couple times, didn't have good results because, again, I was playing against future pros.
Right.
But we competed. I mean, they knew my name. They knew they had to compete.
Right. Growing up, name somebody that you got a chance to play with on a regular that was a real problem. Somebody that you might know about.
A good friend of my family to this day, as a matter of fact, I see him sometime when I go back to Baltimore, was David Wingate.
Dave Wingate?
If you remember, he played against Jordan in the NBA Finals when he was with Seattle. And I remember him walking into a cookout at my house saying, and I asked him, it was his second year in the league, and I said, is Jordan really that good? And he just looked at me and shook his head, and he said, it's just something I never imagined I would be doing. And Jordan was a different animal, he said. So David Wingate, athletically, he was 6'6". He was a better quarterback and pitcher than he was a basketball player.
Quarterback?
Yeah, he was an all-state quarterback.
Are you fucking?
Yeah, he was an all-state quarterback, David Wingate. But he chose basketball because Georgetown gave him a full ride.
Do you think Baltimore players had a lot to do with the early success at Georgetown when Georgetown was America's black team?
Absolutely. The first one that went there was David Wingate, and then Reggie Williams followed. Reggie Williams had a good career he was a Denver Nugget. So both of them went to Georgetown, and then Pat Ewing signed to go to Georgetown, and then that was a little dynasty there for a while.
Okay, that's beautiful. I got one more question. Tell me who's your favorite player of all time before we get up out of here.
From Baltimore?
Nah, period. Mark Chase's favorite basketball player.
My favorite basketball player of all time was probably George Gervin from the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, from the foul line. From the foul line, brother.
I appreciate the time, man. Maybe
all right,
we can
bro.
do this again, man.
Okay.
Some basketball tales by WTV. Thanks a lot.
I enjoyed it, man. Thanks.